posters. Kindly note that this event is to last for 1 hour and it is being recorded. The event will also be broadcasted via our Facebook page at 111112 Foundation. Audience can use the chat box to ask questions, and the panelist is free to answer any question in the chat box if she so wish. But we'll be taking some of the questions from the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. There's French translation, and to listen in French, click on the translation button on the lower right-hand corner of your screen.
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. I was switching connections and I'm back. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And a very beautiful good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are connecting from. First of all, I'd like to just thank everybody for creating the time to be with us today and engage in productive dialogue with us. My name is Brighton Kaoma, and I am the Global Director for the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network here in New York City, which is one of the biggest global networks of young people working on sustainable development. We work across a spectrum of programs focusing on the different SDGs, particularly SDGs with an interest in climate change, sustainable development, and many other varying areas. And I will like to take this opportunity by beginning to invite Sarah to tell us where you're joining us from and a little bit about the incredible work that you're currently engaged in.
Thank you so much. I have had to drop off one device and join from another. I hope you can hear me, and I think I just caught you as you were inviting me in. Am I audible?
You're very audible, and it's very understandable in the digital age that we are in. It's about switching from one network to the next. It's like switching rooms like we used to in most conventional meeting settings.
No, I apologize. I'm joining you from Gaborone. I'm in Botswana, the city of Botswana. I'm in the Southern African Development Community region, so right in the warm area.
I understand. I'm from Zambia originally, just to let you know. So it's just a few hours flight away. Yeah. So very excited to have you today and very excited to learn about the incredible work that you are doing, as well as your passion and interest in sustainable development. And I'm very pleased to engage in productive conversation with you, but also to engage with all of you viewers and listeners joining us from around the world. We're very excited to have you, and we look forward to your questions as the conversation unfolds. I also want to preface this conversation by stating that we are at a stage where achieving the goals of the SDGs requires global alliances, institutional alliances, but also, most importantly, collaboration across institutions, organizations, disciplines, and passions. That's the reason why in sustainable development requires your expertise, your scholarship, and your intellectual contribution as we work towards achieving Agenda 2030. So I'll revert back to you, Sarah. It would be good to learn more about your background, your interest, and outside your work, what are some of the key critical areas of interest you have within the development space?
Thank you very much, Brighton. I'm very passionate about the role of civil society and the private sector in assisting goals. I think we tend to leave it to government to be in the forefront, but I think even the pandemic has taught us that we cannot be dependent on government to create employment, for industrialization, and this is a waking that I'm seeing a lot lately. Well, for me as well, I was employed for the longest time, and in 2016 I saw it fitting to get into the civil society space, particularly in the renewable energy and space, with a focus on complementing government's initiatives towards Sustainable Development Goal 7, which is affordable and clean energy. So when we founded Now for Them, it was set against the backdrop of us being the first renewable energy NGO in the country. And it has really catapulted how the mindset of renewable energy, because I think it's, as much as we have so many SDGs, you know, and it's necessary to unpack, and we need to play different roles in acceptance by the society. So in forming Now for Them, it has really brought an acceptance of the solar energy capabilities in the country. And it has been so interesting and so interesting to see how that has shaped that acceptance and that welcoming of the technology. An example is how we've been able to get backed up by such giants in the diamond industry. I'm sure you know of the DBS Group, and Botswana funded us to build our first solar lamp in Botswana. And it's that link from such big corporations that saw it fitting to identify us as potential partners and to trust us that we could build something that belonged to Botswana, that also complemented the Sustainable Development Goals or contributed towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And we built with them and assembled 4,250 solar lamps that then went to Scholars Without Access to Electricity. And as I speak now, today, some of those lights are being donated. This very morning, they're going to scholars. So it's just amazing to see how Africa has risen to and that hunger and that drive toward 2030 and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And being a short-term consultant for the World Bank, it gives me, you know, that advantage of participating as an African youth to also understand where there might be gaps and how international organizations can play a role in filling gaps, because then we as African consultants or employees were able to highlight where there may be gaps in meeting the Sustainable Development Goal targets and perhaps contribute also to the action items that would go towards meeting.
That's incredible. And I think you highlighted something particularly interesting when you spoke about this transition from like fossil fuel-based energy solutions or unsustainable energy solutions to what is now not only alternative energy, but one of the most important sources of energy, which is solar and many other green alternatives. And I'll be very particularly interested, coming from Zambia myself, I understand the importance of having reliable sources of energy, for example, for lighting, cooking, and many other needs at household level or industrial level. There have been so many challenges that the continent is facing. See this incredible milestone you've accomplished of distributing all these different solar lamps, helping society at large, and most importantly, how will it contribute to education, the education of young people, especially those that are not connected to the national grid?
Oh yeah, oh, very, 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 this is the time, you know. I'm very excited. You have a gem in Zambia, a young man called Paul Nkambula, who has taken decentralized rural, decentralized PV systems to rural Zambia, and I follow him, and I'm very impressed about the work he does. and I draw inspiration from such projects across Africa, because I believe we need to be learning from each other. It's very relatable to understand the issues as you highlighted. If I can take off from one project from Zambia, I can very closely relate it to a project in Botswana, and the issues would be very similar. Quality education, as you're saying, creating inclusion as an opportunity to meet multiple SDGs. So not only are we looking at SDG 4, which is quality education, when we take the solar lamp to a scholar, because we're taking it to a scholar who doesn't have electricity. So they're using either paraffin or issue. So in exchange, a couple of years once they've graduated, you're also what is that one? My favorite. Well-being and health, which is goal 3, right? You're removing the candle, the paraffin, and the health implications that come with that. Inhalation of all these gases and you know, reducing cases of candles having caught fire, and we know what paraffin as a hydrocarbon, what it does to our environment. You're also reducing the for cooking. But I didn't realize that there's a reliance on it. When a fire is on in a household that is led by a woman, it creates a security of a potential break-in, a person who may break in knowing that there's people in the house. So keeping that fire ongoing for the whole night, even though cooking is finished, it's a security measure. And I didn't know that, you know? And now when I give that family a solar lamp, and when a female-headed household, when the parent or the guardian can quickly switch on a solar light, when she hears any sound outside, it creates not only is there security boost, but then it reduces the use of the fuel wood. So in terms of inclusion and targeting rural areas, I found that leveraging from different projects across the continent, and then taking those experiences, and then in our thinking, this was a small contribution, a solar lamp. We didn't foresee it being such a contributor to education, to health, to poverty alleviation, and you know, so all those added values, and also, you know, you may start off with one thing, which is goal 7, right? And the more you do, the more recognition you get from potential funders. So we had Philips through the Signify Foundation also say, hey, we have street lights, solar street lights. Are you interested? So you know, it's those complementing partnerships that really have driven us. And you know, civil society, it's difficult to secure funding, to pay salaries, and so forth. So it's those kind of boosts, that recognition that Africa is ready. Africa has the resources. Africa has an abundance of solar, of wind, of hydro, of biogas from international partners that really gives us that boost to keep ourselves in the sector.
That's incredible, and you really described it so succinctly in terms of what are some of the spillovers and the positive externalities that come as a result of giving people access to electricity, and in this case, clean electricity, clean energy solutions. And you know, it's quite fascinating, Sarah, to realize that over the past few years, we've seen the Africa's renewable energy solution proving to be economically viable. we've seen that this has also been underpinned by significant innovations across technologies. But most importantly, what really fascinates me is how Africa's renewable energy mix has gradually shifted from the traditional hydropower and thermal plants to more renewable solutions. And this is accelerating energy access and supporting sustainable economic growth. And I think this really...
Monsieur Kaomeki said de comprendre
of our topic of sustainability and its global impact in the African context. How do you see us harnessing the potential of technology? You touched upon different companies that are coming in, like Philips and many others that are innovating in this space. How can we harness the potential of technology and the data economy to meet some of the SDGs?
Yeah, the beauty of it is, I think Africa is highly realizing quickly what a resource we're sitting on in terms of renewable energy, and the capability and the capacity we have, not only to supply ourselves, but to also service countries outside of Africa. Look at Morocco. Look at the negotiations and the policy that are being put into place, frameworks that are working on to export electricity to the European Union. When you see such drive and such countries that, I mean, if I could be wrong, but I believe Morocco is one of the largest energy producers in the renewable space, if not in Africa, or if not in the north of Africa, but in Africa. I believe, I could be wrong, that somebody else may have surpassed it, but the fact that EU sees the importance of purchasing renewable energy from Africa is huge. It's huge. And that also translates to the recognition through our policies, the framework where we've changed, and we're enabling more of an energy mix, as you were saying, for renewable energy to have a big part in a lot of what we are developing in terms of industrial growth, right? And the difference from us and the developed countries is that by the time we expand our industrial sectors, we will be tapping into that energy mix. We will be tapping into solar, you know, from 8 to 6 while the sun shines. It means free energy from the sun. Yes, the initial investment is heavy, but imagine what that does when you now reduce the hydrocarbon from that 6 to 8 or 6 p.m. to you know, during the sunshine. You're reducing now also what we are emitting in terms of greenhouse gases. And this is why multinational corporations come in. They offer support to governments to integrate SDGs into national development plans and policies. And if we enable them to come in more as governments, then we will have set ourselves given ourselves a step forward in ensuring that our policies recognize the effects of climate change and how every planning cannot not include or recognize climate change. And therefore, as energy is a huge contributor, or let me say hydrocarbon-based energy or electricity is a as producing the batteries, producing the panels, the motherboards, the LED lights, and you can see that already happening. And it's I'm very excited about that, Brighton.
It's amazing, because I think when you look at the role of multinational cooperation in actualizing the sustainable development, you've already spoken so well about the role that governments play, the role that corporations play, and how do we ensure that there are strong alliances between the two and there's a strong reconciliation between the two? But most importantly, you've spoken about the importance of innovation and how Africa itself can begin creating all these solutions. But most importantly, you spoke about innovation and technology, and I see it also creating jobs for the youth on the continent. How do you think that will contribute significantly to economic progress of African countries if young people start innovating and creating businesses and innovations in this space? And how can multinationals play a role in spurring this spirit of entrepreneurship in the green economy?
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Innovation and technology and the youth, you said it. The beauty of the multinational corporations now is that in coming in to facilitate, they're also coming in as like an intermediaries, as a bridge for government to be able to reach civil society, to reach the private sector, right? There's a huge recognition of the role of the private sector, of the role of civil society. For example, in terms of green energy, green technology and innovation, we see more and more of our innovation, of our countries having institutions dedicated to innovation. Botswana has set up the Botswana Innovation Hub, and it simply looks into what is the role of innovation, of technology, of development, and what role can the private sector play, and how do we facilitate that bridge for government to purchase and government to facilitate and government to support such initiatives. I would say the first thing I would think of is digital finance services, right? The growth in mobile money services that we've seen across countries like Botswana, like Kenya, like Zambia. It is increasing this financial inclusion for even the smallest players, the SMMEs, to be able to be encouraged to market their services and their products online, right? The fact that I can pay online, I can purchase online, I can market myself on social media, I can do electronic payments and have somebody sitting in a developed country and buying that. That shows innovation, that shows advancement in technology. The other one is just digital platforms that digitization of information that is really catapulting and excelling insight into the gem that Africa is. You know, I think before we waited for people to come to Africa to see the resources, to understand the capability of Africans, there is a wealth of knowledge from Africans that I am being exposed to through the power of LinkedIn, and it's becoming more evident that these are people who social media and digital platforms are exposing, and you can easily contact them like that and form networks and create development that is, you know, that we didn't see foreseeable, and this assists us to catch up as a continent with what other continents are doing.
And very soon we shall be leading the way.
I say so too. Nothing stops us now. I agree with you.
Talk about how you know, multinationals and governments are currently looking at innovation, and I think that is going to play a critical role in ensuring that we create places and hubs where young people can hack these solutions, because then they are given an environment in which they can grow and flourish and collaborate and use technology. And I think it's important to recognize how we are seeing an increasing role that Internet of Things is playing, blockchain is playing, and innovation and computer science. All these innovations are accelerating the pace at which we are creating these solutions. And I think the role that the internet is playing, and we are also seeing equity in access to technology and the internet, we should be in a position where, irrespective of where you are on the continent, you can collaborate with somebody in South Africa. If you're in Nigeria, you can speak to somebody in Botswana. If you're in Kenya, you can speak to somebody in the DRC and be able to cross-pollinate all these innovations and solutions. But I think what would be critical above all is for us to share best practices and use the power of technology, use the power of social media to market and create partnerships and fundraise, because it's possible. We are seeing very incredible anecdotes of young people who are doing incredible work on the continent, and you've really highlighted the incredible work that you are doing. We are seeing what the 11-11-12 Foundation is doing and what many other organizations of the continent are doing. And I think that really takes me to my next question of how do we raise awareness on the critical role played by African youth in attaining sustainable development within the framework of what we now have as Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And you did, to a great extent, highlight on this. So I would want to find out your thoughts on how can we now raise awareness on the critical role that young people play beyond these huge demographic dividends that we are seeing on the continent?
You know, I think just this very platform, having seen what 11-11-12 Foundation are doing, this very platform allows us to have such dialogues, right? This year in June, the World Bank held a youth summit titled Resilient Recovery for People and Planet. And the SDGs, you know, they're about ensuring inclusion for all people and future generations, right? For resources, employability, economic growth, responsible consumption of resources, and ensuring sustainable consumption of resources. So this summit, I found it was geared towards empowerment of the youth to explore innovative ideas to tackle development challenges and provide the youth with the tools to build and engage in an impactful way, and to be able to build up on and support implementation of impactful projects and promote a dialogue between the youth themselves and how multinational corporations and other key stakeholders globally can come together. I think a step such as this one, where you have this very foundation that has put us together in such a platform and has braved it and partnered with we meet those the SDGs. So I think we're in the right track in terms of having realized that the role played by the different players, you know, government, the multi-corporations, the private sector, the civil society. And I am glad that I partake in such platforms because they offer me such an opportunity to say, hey, there's some of us here and we're available and we are in the process of contributing towards SDGs, and how can we increase accessibility, and how can we grow the impact and meet the action items set up by the countries. For example, SDG 7, each country had to highlight its action agenda on SE for all sustainable energy development, sustainable energy for all. And I took that document, and for me, it was a driving force to how do I assist my country to ensure that the action agendas are met, given the deadlines or the timelines, and what role can we as youth play?
That's very, very exciting. And I think you've really ushered us into understanding how can we as young people continue to cross-pollinate these solutions and these innovations, and also recognizing that youth account for 60% of all African unemployment, according to a recent report by the World Bank. And in North Africa, the youth unemployment rate is an eye-opening, raising 30%. And we also see that most countries in the South, countries like Zambia, for example, Botswana, Congo, Senegal, South Africa, and several others are experiencing high rates of unemployment among the youth. But what is promising at the same time is this passion that we are witnessing, where young people are beginning to realize that it's about innovation, it's about using science, engineering, technology, and mathematics to spur innovation and create jobs for others. We've seen all these anecdotes and case studies from across the African continent, which is extremely promising. And I think we need to continue to inspire the next coterie of young leaders to continue thinking critically about the role that innovation will continue playing in solving the SDGs, but also creating other positive expertise. But I would like to get back to you, Sarah, and find out from your own experience and your own interaction in civil society, but also within the development space, how would you say how far do you think we've moved so far in driving this chain of sustainability in Africa, especially within the context of SDG 7?
I'm hopeful. If you've seen accessibility in terms of electricity, which is aimed at goal 7, it could perform better, but I am hopeful that we still have time. And seeing how the wake towards renewable energy is, and how a lot of countries are considering energy mixes and having their leaders declare what they're going to have achieved by the end of the SDGs. It gives me great hope to say I'm hopeful that Africa, as a continent, we will be able to achieve most of these goals. My confidence comes from just seeing our response towards the pandemic. And we are quite a continent that holds each other, and that has recognized that the richness. I think the pandemic, if it has done one thing, it has really made us appreciate what we have, to the smallest thing, as a herb, as a tea, as what we grow. There's such a uniqueness in what Africa has to offer. And when it comes to food and what the development countries call superfood, I am woke, as the young people say, to the potential we have in self-sufficiency, in even exporting. I didn't realize, and this was exposed by social media, I did not realize how many young people are saying, I'm not going to just depend on a salary, I'm going to have my own business. And if I lose my job, I will make soap. I will make soap from products from Africa. I will make teas from products from Africa. I will find a way to get on a YouTube video and learn how to make a wind turbine that I can pump water. And I have so many questions on how do I build a solar lamp? And I'm like, I'm here for that. I will teach you, I will show you. So I say I'm hopeful because I see all these. I see how local partners are boosting the private sector. I'm seeing how policy is starting to enable private sectors and other players to come in. And I want to say, I think as Africa, we're open to business, right? And we know how to do it. And we recognize what a gem we have. And we're ready to open our doors to collaborations, to saying, here I am, I have innovated this, I built this, I own this, right? So I'm very excited, but I think it's a very positive stride to showcase that we were prepared post the Millennium Development Goals. We highly recognized where we fell short, and we were prepared even before the Sustainable Development Goals came in. And we recognized highly how the youth needed to play a role in achieving the SDGs.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I want to take this opportunity to just recognize other incredible people joining us today from across the continent and around the world. We have people from Zambia, we have people from Malawi, we have people from Nigeria, we have people from Kenya, and many other different places that I haven't mentioned. So all of you are welcome. Continue to share your questions in the chat box and continue to tweet, retweet. It's hashtag 2021 Africa Green Webinar, Africa Green Webinar Series. We'll be very excited to retweet what you are doing and what you are sharing and harvesting from this conversation. I also want to take this opportunity to highlight what Sarah touched on. And I want to recommend a recent report, Reach Africa 2030. It's called Africa 2030, and it was released recently by IRENA, which is the roadmap for a renewable energy future for the African continent. And they've really highlighted specific pathways that we can be able to touch on. And they interestingly provide a comprehensive roadmap for the continent's energy transition. They illustrate some viable paths to prosperity through innovation, for example, and renewable energy development. And they've also highlighted part of an ongoing global remap 2030 analysis, which builds on a country by country roadmap of supply and demand of renewable energy potential and technology prospects. So I would highly recommend that at your own opportune time, you check out this Renewable Energy Roadmap 2030, which was released recently by the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA. That's a very good piece of dialogue. I would want to get back to you, Sarah. You've really spoken succinctly about the incredible role that young people play, the incredible role that corporations play, the incredible role that governments play in creating an enabling environment to innovate and to create jobs, but most importantly, an environment that can spur this transition to renewable energy solutions. If you were to be at the UN General Assembly and recommend SDG goal number 18, what would it be?
Wow, put me on the spot, Brighton. I think it would be very driven to, maybe I'm biased towards the youth. I feel that all the SDGs really have captured, if you look at the agenda and the history of the UN Sustainable Development Agenda and how it's progressed and how with the SDGs have really unpacked what used to be sub-themes under other goals, right? And quickly through this pandemic, we have realized the role of the youth. I would be biased towards a more increased and a more targeted and clear way in which the youth can play a role in development. So yeah, I still stick to that one. I would stick to the sub 18 being some way to really put the youth at a pedestal where they can be seen as innovators, seen as doers. The targets would be, you know, for us to be able to sit with people with 20, 30 years of experience and milk from them what they've, because the shift is necessary, right? And find out how, you know, we can find a linkage given their experience, given our understanding of how
more important. So an SDG, like you described, that focuses on the youth of today and the youth of tomorrow, and making sure that today's actions safeguard the well-being of future generations. But also you highlighted something critical about this intergenerational dialogue. I'm a very strong believer that for us to be able to create a very strong leap in progress towards SDGs, we need to engage in dialogue with the corporations and individuals in both business and government and civil society that have been around for some time. We need to engage with leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow in this kind of conversation that allows us to cross-pollinate our tech savviness as young people, our exposure to technology and innovation, but also refer back to the experiences of the leaders that have been around over the last few decades. So we need that intergenerational dialogue. And I think on that note, I will go to our question and answers. Our question and answer session, and specifically highlight some of the questions that have come in. We have a question from Stephen Karikezi. Stephen says, kudos for your solar lamp initiative in Botswana, Sarah. Mobilizing funds from private sector is impressive. Is it possible to tap state energy subsidies or electricity tariffs that are used in conventional sectors as done in South Africa? So I'll go back to the question again. Stephen says, is it possible to tap state energy subsidies or electricity tariffs that are used in conventional sector as done in South Africa, Sarah?
I believe so. In my opinion, it's a bit slow. In the case of Botswana, because we have one government institution that regulates electricity and highly subsidizes it for the end user, which has been, I must applaud Botswana because it keeps the tariff, the kilowatt, what the customer purchases at a really lower level than what it's produced at. It has definitely made it difficult for competitors to come in and meet that tariff. As you can imagine, that the subsidies is quite high. I do believe, though, that with the policy and the way we've taken our time in refining it, we've been able, as a country, and I speak to just Botswana, to now confidently say we will allow independent power producers to come in and produce electricity using renewable energy and feed it back into the grid and have a tariff that pays them back. So it's impressive as slow as I feel it has taken time. I think we're getting there. Other countries a little faster, others a little behind. But government support is key to ensuring somehow it can support. But the cost and the fact that a lot of the technology comes from outside, you're looking at transportation, customs, and so forth. So subsidies such as a tax break for certain components that are for renewable energy is encouraging. It means there's more uptake. A subsidy towards a setup fee or provision of those of the technology really does assist a lot for independent power producers to come in, even just the household to be able to put up a PV system on their roof and have a meter ring system where they can sell back into the grid.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been waiting for this for a very long time, and I graduated 11 years ago with my master's in energy development, and I have been waiting. I can tell you, Stephen, and I'm very excited to see it happen. I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah. But yes, very possible.
Very exciting. I think reaching a stage where alternative renewable energy solutions, even harvesting at household level, can feed into the grid and be that, stream of income for household will be a very incredible stage to be at. And I think we'll get there eventually. I've seen cases like that even here in the US, where some of my friends and colleagues are working in the energy sector, and we're seeing this very huge interest in alternative energy and how the energy markets are now aspiring and increasing. The renewable energy markets are now increasing and being appreciated, which is extremely exciting. I'll go to the next question that we have, and Ngozi Marvelous Gabriel asks, please, can you explain how can we start manufacturing from these resources while maintaining sustainability? And I think she's trying to also inquire about how do we promote sustainability in these supply chains, even as we manufacture these resources.
A very good question, Ngozi. I think we have an advantage that perhaps the developed countries have made their mistakes and have been transparent enough to say, listen, we went the coal route, it destroyed the environment, and we can assist you, or we can tell you how we messed up so that you can avoid the same mistakes that we've made, right? So it's important that we take from those lessons. And I find reading up a lot, such reports that as the one that just got highlighted, the IRENA report. The beauty of such reports is that they show you not only the potential in a sector, but it also shows you what the impacts have been negatively to the environment, to society, to the economy. And therefore, how can we avoid those mistakes, right? So, I mean, we're not going to do it perfectly. Obviously still molding, we're still building, we're a continent that is still really exploring, right? And we're waking up how much we have. And we will make mistakes. At least we can bounce off from what those countries have put in front of us as lessons. It's also very challenging, I can imagine. Let's say you have an abundance of water, and you create a man-made dam to tap the water to then generate hydroelectricity. When natural disasters occur, such as when you have droughts or you have flash floods and so forth that then disrupt that system, there's unforeseeable impacts that you cannot plan for. So I think as a continent, we have to give ourselves a break. That some of these things are, it's beyond our control. But we can bounce back and say, listen, we know what the natural disaster drought is going to be. It's going to mean less water to run the hydro. But what does that mean for the fish? What have we done to ensure they're not impacted and that we're not drawing water from a natural resource to take electricity to be? How do we balance that we still meet the need to our citizen without compromising what we take out to the environment? So I think it takes a lot of understanding what was done wrong in the past and how we can correct that to get to that. Yeah.
Excellent. That really does provide a very good context into how do we begin to transition, how do we begin to integrate sustainability, which is the common thread, even as we develop alternative energy solutions. How do we offset emissions in the process of decarbonization, which becomes even more critical? Lauren Jones asked about my work and says, as a very vibrant and well-grounded organization, how is SDSN ensuring that African youth are at the heart of a successful implementation of SDGs on the continent? And I'm very happy to explain, strongly contribute to sustainable development. You need to have a very deeper understanding. You need to be grounded in understanding and being equipped with the right 21st century competencies. So what we do as an organization is we bring in young people through different areas that I'll speak to, and we give them the skills and tools they need for them to take action in their communities. But we also build a very strong community of young leaders. We believe that by building a very strong community, we can cross-pollinate solutions. If we have a community of leaders around the world who are interacting and are sharing in common mission and values, that can inspire innovation. I always feel very excited when I travel to other parts of the world and I know somebody who's part of the network we are in. I know that when I am in Nigeria, or when I'm in Kenya, when I'm in South Africa, I'll meet a young person that is to a great extent affiliated to SDS and youth. But how can we make sure that more young people on the continent are involved in this process? Number one, SDSN works with individuals, organizations, and partners, and I'll speak more to that. As a young person, you can get involved in our global network of SDG coordinators that are working towards mobilizing campus-driven action. So we have young people at universities that are starting their own SDG hubs, where they discuss in depth how they can integrate sustainable development and SDGs in their solutions at campus level, in their businesses at universities and campuses. And we give them the tools and the resources they need. We provide them with a toolbox which they can use to run their different initiatives. We are also focusing on localizing SDGs at national and regional level. And we have a network of in over 30 different countries across 21 regional networks. And each network is led by a coordinator. And then we have like a cascade effect across universities. Then we are also working on urban sustainability, which also speaks to what Sarah has highlighted. We believe that in the next few years, by 2030, majority of the people are going to be living in cities, urban cities. So how do we promote urban sustainability in terms of infrastructure and energy solutions? So we have a 10-month fellowship called the Local Pathways Fellowship, where we bring in 100 young people from around the world interested in SDGs, specifically in energy and sustainability and urban sustainability, and they to what Sarah spoke about in our dialogue. And it's from Musa Ibrahim. And Musa says, hello, Sarah, in the African perspective, how can the clean energy transition be effectively actualized in such a way that jobs and means of livelihoods are not lost?
Do you mind if because I've seen the questions, if I group them so I can try and answer as many as possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You know, I think it starts from, as I was saying earlier, it's policy, it's inclusion into syllabus, it's inclusion at a very young age, for our youth and for our scholars to be able to understand potential sectors they can make in our learning syllabus and curriculums, and that we're taught, you know, the subjects, English, maths, this, the history, what we're taught, and then there's no hands-on experience from a young age. I believe we need to start instilling it from a young age. My thinking with the solar lamp is that child is going to remember that they used a lamp that electricity that was not connected to a wall, electricity that was renewable. They may not understand it at the age of 8 or at the age of 13 or at the age of 15, but I want to believe that at some point they will see it as a clean energy transition, and they'll gain that interest in wanting to be in that workspace, in that job space. And in our colleges and universities need to be able to have departments or faculties that pull in young people to be able to be the leaders in the sector. I don't want in 5 to 10 years to be hearing that somebody from a different continent came and brought this new technology. I want to be able to read that that Stephen, that Musa, you guys brought it on. You guys built this solar vehicle, or you built the first wind turbine to pump water from an aquifer. So it's important that we don't only think of employability. Stephen is asking about full youth employability in countries such as Mauritius. We need to build the skills from a young age to grow also the interest in the sector. And not only am I talking about the soft hand skills, I'm talking about financing. I'm talking about the economics of it all, the business side of it, the management side of it. And one of the questions was that I picked up was evening trading opportunities, and the fact that we've created work opportunities in assembling of solar lights and creating job opportunities. When we took this new skill to the 20 women and youth, it had never been done in Botswana, especially women. A woman had not built a light. A youth had not built a light. And when you talk about electricity, and I taught them how to take a motherboard, put solder cables and insert the battery, stabilize the whole component that I've just put together, connected to a LED light, a board with an LED light, put it into a casing, put the panel on, put the panel together, assemble it, screw it on, and then they connected the panel to the light, right, to the bulb, and then charged it, waited 8 hours, and then I said, switch it on. The first time I saw that happening, I could have cried, and I should have documented that moment in video. And I think it is such a realization. We fail to document the massiveness of such what we think is so minute, and that's where perhaps the youth can play the role. And that's why I said SDG 18 would be a youth, because the youth are so good at highlighting the impact, and as small as we think it may be, they will really showcase what it has in terms of a new skill to an individual who had never had electricity in their household, to an individual who never fathomed the idea that they could make electricity, with a solar lamp. So it's there's an anonymous attendee who has highlighted something that engaging the youth is key, and they support what I've said. But also it's necessary for the youth to be supported in the education institution and engaged in promoting especially solar and incorporating it into the syllabus. And I agree with you 100%. So we have to be, one of them is one of the questions is how I've done this. I was very aggressive. I encourage you to be extremely aggressive, and not give up. When I first started the solar lamp initiative, I walked each year 100 kilometers in the Makgadikgadi pans. If you Google the Makgadikgadi pans, there's no tree. It's pure salt. It's a salt pan. And to walk 100 kilometers is ludicrous. Do you know why I did it? It's because when I first went to the private sector and I said, I can prove to you that solar energy, a solar lamp, can change the life of a scholar and can change the school grade of a scholar. To a private company, it was, how do I get brand visibility? I can go sponsor a football team and they will wear my brand. What are you talking about? What is renewable energy? And I had to use my own physical strength because I love the outdoors. So do not overthink the power of the youth. because we are so diverse. We are interested in so many things. Use a skill that you already have, a hobby that you already love. I used hiking and walking, and I said I will walk 100 kilometers in 2 days, and I will wear your clothes, your brand, and I will put it on Facebook. I will put it on Instagram. And I don't even have an Instagram account, by the way. So I had to quickly say to my team and to my friends, help me set up an Instagram account, a Twitter account, because I don't know how to use those. So this is why I'm excited about the youth. And the fact that these questions that I'm seeing are recognizing how there is an interlinkage from education to where we want to go. It impresses me. And once I had gained that interest and people were shocked, you will walk 100 kilometers in the desert, in the salt pan where we know there's no tree, just so that you can give you money to buy a solar lamp for scholars. It caught on. It caught on, and since 2017, we've donated over 6,000 lamps. And the reason why I say don't give up, it's because every time we donated those lamps, I sent a letter to Office of the President, to the Education Office to say, come and take these lamps and facilitate for us to take these lamps to scholars. And over and over and over, there was no response. This is the first year that we got a response. And you know what the response was? The Vice President of the Republic of Botswana came and commissioned 2 kilometers of street solar lights that were funded by Philips. You know what that did for us? It boosted us in a way that I cannot tell, I cannot explain. And this is why I say to you guys, it's us, the youth. Okay, I don't know if I still fall in the bracket of the youth because I'm facing 40, but I still call myself that because I run a youth organization. And man, I am impressed, and I can't lie. I am learning from other African youth. I steal from their ideas. I do not want to say my ideas are original, but the fact that this year we had the Vice President of the country come after 5 years of those invitations, it was validation for me that we can, you know, be an SDG 18 for lack of a better word, Brighton.
100%, 100%. Well, I think saying you're an inspiration would be an understatement. You are a change maker, you are breaking grounds, and everybody is recognizing the work that you are doing. We're extremely proud, and I think it's been a huge honor and privilege to have the opportunity of speaking to you today and getting to learn about the incredible work you've done. Be unapologetic, as you've put it, be extraordinary, put in the passion, use your energies, use your industriousness, and create alliances, but most importantly, harness technology, harness social media to be able to engage stakeholders to make sure that you even summon more support for the work that you are doing. I think we have a very great opportunity as African youth to be able to create breaking ground innovation. And we have the energy and we have the solutions. What we just need is to fold our sleeves, fold our pants, and get to work. It's been a huge honor speaking with you, Sarah. I'm wondering if you would have a few closing thoughts. If you were to give one word of advice to an African youth, what would it be?
I would say I would say don't overthink. No matter how small you think your idea is, don't overthink it. Because a lot of times, I used to do it. I used to overthink an idea and think it's so small it won't have an impact. It will have a massive impact. You may think you're giving a solar lamp to one scholar. They take it home. There's 5 other scholars. There's a woman who is struggling to put food on the table, and you have just removed the expense of a candle or a paraffin for her to divert those funds towards nutrition for her children. So do not overthink the impact of what your idea. If you're on this call, I believe you're a youth. I know for sure you've joined in because you're thinking of what role, or you already have the solution, but you may not already have implemented it because something is holding you back because you think it's not big enough. Start small. I started with 7 solar lamps. And I bought them from my pocket. Start small. The whatever you're doing contributes towards the Sustainable Development Goals. That is why whatever you're doing is accounted for in the Sustainable Development Goals. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. So don't overthink it. Do it with whatever small resources.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think they're very prolific words. Just start where you are. Don't overthink it. You don't have to have rocket science solutions. Whatever innovation that you have, whatever idea you have, run with it, implement it, and people will support you. And all of us are here to support you, to give you the backing and support that you need to be even more successful. Before I close, I just want to also thank 11/11/12 Foundation for this great opportunity of allowing us to engage with young people on the continent. This is our continent, and we shall make progress in our continent. Despite being here in New York City, I am very passionate about creating alliances. Let's connect on LinkedIn, let's connect on social media, let's connect via email, and let's begin to work together. I'll use this opportunity to also invite the 11/11/12 partner, which is the Swedish Embassy in Abuja, and the representative Siafuni Adebote, who is the Digital Communication and Promotion Officer for the Embassy of Sweden to Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, and the ECOWAS, to give his closing remarks.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great. Good day to everyone, and I want to say thank you, Brighton, for the good moderation today. Very impressed, one of the best, I must also say. And to Sarah also for the very empowering presentation. By way of introduction, my name is Sheifumi Adebote. I work with the Embassy of Sweden here in Abuja, but we also cover for Cameroon, Ghana, and the rest of the West African region. It's been a pleasure for the embassy to have partnered again with the 11/11/12 Foundation. This is not the first, and we're very confident that it will not be the last. It's been really powerful to listen to these conversations from very well knowledgeable speakers from the very first climate change and peace building, the Nexus, where the Ambassador Carmichael spoke, along with other guests. And the second one, which I thought was also very interesting, where we looked at the past, the present, and we also projected into the future of what we hope sustainable agriculture would look like for us to achieve a world of zero hunger. And last week, I was partly a part of that because it was a very busy time here. But I also understand finance is very central to sustainability. And I appreciate the conversation around financing a green recovery. And today, I mean, I have been wowed. First time I am getting to know about Sarah and her work, but I think she does a very important work and she spoke very powerfully. I myself was really, really inspired, you know, from the point she made about the focus being on young people and how much we can do when we understand that that we occupy a very central position in the entire chain. I also, being a media person myself, I also want to echo our points about documenting the journey. I mean, it's not until you, as we call it in Nigeria, blow. It's not until you're popular or you're out there before you think it's the time to document what is happening. It's good to document the journey, the little successes that you record along the journey, and that's why we have the internet as young people, and we can optimize it for that's good. And lastly, she talked about don't overthink it. Some of you may know that I host the Climate Talk podcast, and when I was going to start that podcast, I almost made the mistake of overthinking it for a year, but it's been running for 2-3 years now, and I'm glad that I did not overthink it. I just started, and I got very wonderful team to work with me on that. So do not overthink it. Whatever ideas is coming to you, do not think, will it fly, will it not fly? Just go ahead, run with it, have a very good team, and you never can tell how far it will go. Again, I want to say thanks to Temitope, who has been coordinating this, and the entire 11-11-12 Foundation for the very good work they've been doing. And I really do hope these conversations can go on. Beyond it, I hope we can get some testimonials from people that have been a part of this webinars and other projects of the 11-11-12 Foundation. That itself would be meaningful engagement for us here at the embassy. Once and again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very, very exciting. And like you said, some reviews and reflections will be important. Please keep tweeting because they can be invested on Twitter. Keep sharing what your experience has been and reach out to the coordinators. And I want to just thank everybody, to thank Sarah and everybody. And so thank you to 1111 for giving me the opportunity to moderate this station. I look forward to building Africa together. I look forward to collaborating, and I look forward to advancing this conversation. I thank you all, and I wish you a pleasant day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Very much. Have a great day.